Yo, what's good? It's your boy Jay back at it again, and today we got No, You Do Not Want to Be Nonchalant by K. Sazad. You already know what the deal is, man. Follow me on both Jay's here and Jay's there. And without further ado, let's get started.
This is going to be a rant entirely based on the projection of my own issues and internet trends that may or may not encompass the actual opinions of the general public. I'm declaring this now because I already know there's going to be a bunch of smarty pantses in the comments being like, oh, this is just a big yap section because of your insecurities. Yeah, I know. And then they will still proceed to watch through the video. So if you sit here through the video and you still complain about the video, you're an even bigger fool than I am. With that being said, I don't understand the obsession with being nonchalant. Being nonchalant, chill, cool, apathetic is trendy now. I see so many videos on my Pinterest and on my YouTube about how to be nonchalant or how not to try too hard or how to be effortless. I'm trying to be nonchalant in front of Fine She. Everywhere I look, everyone is trying to be nonchalant. And again, maybe this is just internet drama, but that doesn't mean it doesn't reflect the actual opinions of some actual people. So my question is, why? Why has it suddenly become popular to be quiet and reserved and not express emotion? Because I feel like some of you have a completely misconstructed ideal of what a nonchalant person actually is. I don't actually believe that.
Nonchalant, I think the internet has this idea, or it has this habit of taking, you know what I'm saying? The internet has this habit of taking definitions and just running with it without actually knowing the definition. Because nonchalant, the by book's definition of it, if we look at it here on Google, is of a person or manner feeling or appearing casually calm and relaxed, not displaying anxiety, interest, or enthusiasm. Right? But the key word is casual and calm and relaxed. Right? A nonchalant person inherently is a person who's calm, cool, relaxed, and they most likely live in the present. They're not worrying about the future or living in the past. They're just focused on the present and what they're doing now, right? And that's reflected in someone who is calm. Like a person who is calm, they don't have a lot of stress. They don't have a lot of pent-up anger or aggression. They're just kind of relaxed. Like, you know, have you ever been around a person who's just calm? Like they're happy, they're telling jokes, they're not really taking things personally. That's what a truly nonchalant person is. However, the internet has taken that and shifted it to be more, you're not emotional, you don't express emotion, you know, you're unavailable, right? Which is a far detour from what the word originally means, right? To me, nonchalant just means you're casual and calm, right? You're relaxed. You don't stress over things. You know, you're just like, oh, it is what it is, we're gonna keep it pushing and find a solution, right? That you're calm, you're relaxed, you're in the zone, right? It's kind of like Goku. Goku is a person who's almost always calm and relaxed, right? Even when there is imminent danger. Like if we look at the Cell Saga, when Perfect Cell was waiting for the tournament to begin and the Z Fighters had 10 days to get ready, Goku was not stressing. Goku was not anxious. He wasn't training super hard like like Vegeta or Piccolo. He was relaxing, chilling with his son, right? Because he knew that there is a chance that I may die, so I want to spend as much time with my family as possible, right? That shows that he's calm, he's relaxed. He understands the severity of the situation, but instead of stressing over it and making it worse, he chooses to be relaxed and calm and to focus on what he has and what he can do versus what he can't do, right? That's what a truly nonchalant person is. However, like I said, the internet's going to take it, run with it, and just do whatever it feels like. But I feel like a lot of this whole nonchalantness, or why people want to be nonchalant, it is because they view, right, why people are trying to force nonchalantness, it's because they view expressing emotions as weak. They view expressing who you truly are as a moment of weakness, right? Which is why a lot of people are trying to be nonchalant. An example of that being, like, let's say you're a guy and, you know, you're a bit bubbly, right? You know, you move in a certain way, and dudes, most often or not, are gonna be like, yo, this nigga like dudes, bro. This nigga gay, bro. And what happens is that some dudes will go through that experience, right? They'll share an interest or do something, and dudes gonna be like, that's gay, stop it. And they're gonna retreat into their circle and try to be nonchalant and try to hide who they truly are in hopes of gaining approval and gaining clout or etc., right? That's why a lot of dudes are trying to be nonchalant. because they view having too much expression or showing too much interest in a girl is going to turn her off, right? Which is why they try to be nonchalant or try to fake it. However, you can't fake being truly nonchalant and relaxed. You can't fake true calmness, right? If you're faking it, there's going to be a certain point where it's revealed that you are not calm and that you are not who you say you are, and that's going to turn her off even more.
You guys want to be nonchalant or have a nonchalant boyfriend or whatever. Whenever anybody talks about being nonchalant, you don't really picture a mysterious, quiet, edgy, cool person like that one character in an anime who's just always salty and always quiet. The guy who doesn't talk to people, gives one-word answers, doesn't really like to smile much or talk to people. Everyone claims they want to be that person or be around a person that's like that because they're cool and mysterious. No, you don't. I don't actually believe that you do. Because I feel like nobody in real life acts particularly in that manner, at least not the super like cool and romantic.
That's the ore farming part of it, nigga. Nigga be trying to ore farm, bro. Like, bro, that's like the reason niggas look up to people like Sasuke and Todoroki and Ayano Koji is because these dudes. It's not just because they're nonchalant. It's because these dudes have power, right? They have power, influence, intelligence, etc., right? And the reason these guys have this is because they're focused. Right, Ayano Koji, extremely smart individual, white room training and all that, right? Sasuke, focused on first destroying Itachi and then destroying the leaf, right? There's a reason why people look up to these characters, and it's because they have the respect, or at least the admiration from their peers, right? They're respected in their field. They're respected for a certain trait, and a lot of people, mainly dudes, want to be respected, because I truly believe that a man can't live a fulfilling life if he is not respected, right? As a man, you need to have dignity and respect at some degree, otherwise you're just going to be miserable, right? You're going to be ridiculed, called out your name, etc., right? And the reason people look up to these characters like, yo, these guys are so cool, they don't care what anybody thinks, I want to be like this person. However, when you're faking nonchalantness or trying to fake a personality to attract people, you are inherently caring about what other people think, right? You're trying to be something to gain approval from people, so you care what they really think, right? You're seeking approval, and I know at every level, you seek approval subconsciously. Everybody does in some way, shape, or form, right? You dress nice, so that way you're looked at as, professional in class. You get a haircut so people think you're fresh. You work out in some way, shape, or form to get attention. Like, I know that in some way, shape, or form I care about what people think of me, right? I want to have a good reputation. However, when you take it to the nth degree and you start modeling your personality to please people, it's gonna make it worse. Because when you please people, they pick that up and they're like, oh, this nigga trying to please me and try to be buddy with me. Well, now I'm the one in power here. I can just tell this nigga what to do and he'll do it for me, right? Which is why, trying to be buddy with everybody and trying to model your personality in different ways doesn't work. Because you can't please everybody. If you try to please everybody, nobody's going to like you because you're not standing for anything, right? That's why people don't like grifters. Because you denounce this one thing and then you move to it. Then you denounce this other thing and you move back. So it's like, what do you stand for, right? It's something along those lines. If you constantly seek approval and attention from other people, people aren't going to like that. And they're going to view you as lesser than, right? Which is why a lot of these dudes who try to seek attention look up to these characters like Sasuke and Hiei and all these edgy ore farming niggas, because they don't care what people think. They're just naturally cold. They're not trying to be mysterious. They're just mysterious. They're cold. They get shit done. Don't try, just do, gang. Don't try to be mysterious, bro. Just better yourself, man.
Romanticized version of it. And for the people who do have characteristics like that, a lot of them probably have severe social anxiety. I speak from experience because I am that person. The really weird thing to me is the quiet, reserved person who doesn't talk to other people and kind of keeps to themselves. They have never really been the person that's portrayed to be the super cool person that everybody wants to be around. Not typically, anyway. I mean, it's always the party people, the funny people, the bubbly, super enthusiastic, and animated people. Those are the type of people that normally you would think you would gravitate towards. And not just in me media, but in real life as well, which is something that I personally noticed after quite some time, after realizing my crippling social anxiety is what's stopping me from being able to communicate with other people and make friendships. So because of this, I have learned to adapt. When you first meet me, I'm going to be super energetic and friendly. I'm trying to make jokes that probably won't land and probably aren't good, smiling and laughing a bunch even though I really hate my smile, and I'm going to reciprocate the kind of energy that you give me. Because I've become painfully aware of how people react sometimes when I'm in my...
you need to reciprocate the energy you receive. In the same way that if you're talking to a girl and she's responding very quickly, well, you respond when you have the time to, right? I don't believe in the whole, oh, I'm gonna wait 30 minutes on purpose just to get her back. I don't believe in that. I just believe that if she's texting slow, reciprocate the energy and be busy, right? If you texting her, and let's say you text her at like 9 a.m. and then she doesn't respond back until like 6, right, on a Saturday. Nobody's that busy on a Saturday to where they can't hit you up and be like, yo, I'm busy, I'll call you back. Most people aren't that busy, right? So I say you reciprocate by being busy and getting work done. Don't lay around and try to artificially make time go faster, because it's actually going to make it go slower.
Default state, which is dull, bland, and boring. And a lot of times people tend to mistaken it for dismissiveness or just downright being rude, which I can't even completely get mad at because things can get misinterpreted through translation. Think about texting, for example. For me personally, if you are not using 1,000 emojis and 1,000 exclamation marks in your text, I'm going to assume that you hate me and I'm never going to text you again because I feel like I am a nuisance to your existence. So it's the same deal with in-person communication, although it is a little bit easier to pick up, of course. But facial expression, body language, and verbal language is all going to play a role in how people perceive you and your attitude. And if you're kind of just dull, standing there like an NPC in the corner, people are probably gonna assume that you don't want to talk to them, which in some cases I probably don't, I'm not even gonna lie. But in other cases, I don't want that to happen. I don't want to set myself up looking like an uninviting person. So I tend to animate myself a little bit more so people don't mistaken me and my personality for just being apathetic or not caring. Now, I would not consider this being fake or phony like some of you are probably thinking, right? Well, then you're not really being yourself. That's being fake. That's smiling in front of people's faces and, you know, turning behind their back and talking bad about them. No, that's not what I'm doing. I'm not saying that people can, tend to act like that and try to be all buddy-buddy with you, and then the minute they turn around, like, oh my gosh, I hate that guy. But that's not so much what I'm describing here. That's definitely more of bringing out a certain persona for a certain occasion. As I was talking about in my video a while back about people not having personalities, so they use things like aesthetics and trends and even parts of their identity in order to cultivate their entire personality around it. You have many different personas or portrayals of yourself that you switch through that you may not even realize.
So, characters, masks, and whatnot. Okay, got it.
Like the example I gave before, the way that you act around your parents is different how you act around your friends. And
yeah, for sure, but that's adaptation, right? I'd say the core principles you still hold, you're still gonna, like, let's say I'm with my main friend group, right? And I'm with my parents. I'm obviously gonna be more wild and out of pocket with my friend group. The jokes are gonna be more raunchy. We're gonna be cussing more, right? But I'm still gonna hold the same principles and personality types with my friends and with my parents, right? I'm still gonna be, cracking jokes, right? Even if the content is going to be different, I'm still going to be smiling. I'm still going to be respectful, right, to some degree, because you're not 100% changing masks. You're just adapting to the situation, right? I think there's a difference. It's the difference between you're with someone, it's the difference between when you're with a girl versus your homeboy, and you're more soft with a girl, you're not doing too much, you're not laughing too hard, and that versus you completely turning your whole personality around. You're saying stuff you would have never said before. It's stuff like that, right?
The way that you act around your friends is different how you act around strangers. There's certain levels of comfortability that you have with certain people, and obviously people are going to react differently to your different personas. You may be cool making dark humor jokes around your friends, but if you're talking to a stranger about how you just hid another body in your closet, there is always the likelihood that they may call the cops on you. So these different personas are not necessarily bad, nor fake, nor phony. It is still a part of you and your personality, and is essential to navigating through social settings. So in the instance of the nonchalant persona, for those of us who have that as our default persona and personality, it can be a little bit difficult to know when it's appropriate to default to. Again, especially if you're trying to make friends or talk to people that you're new with. Because not only can people mistaken this type of behavior for being dismissive, but they can also mistaken it as just being depressed, and it concerns people. So for example, a personal example, at the college I go to right now, I met my wonderful, amazing, former history professor. So there's this thing that he does, or he used to do, called AMA hours, taken from the Reddit trend Ask Me Anything. He would set an hour for his students to come sit with him, somewhere on campus, and sit down with him and talk to him and ask questions about, school or work, or just about life in general, even if you're not one of his students anymore. And so he would set these hours, and a bunch of different students that he had or that he knows from his different classes, they would all gather around and they would all sit and chat. And me going to these little sit down talk hours allowed me to meet some really cool people, some of whom I've gotten more acquainted with over time. So again, for the very beginning of these meets, when I learned about these, I would put on my I'm meeting you for the first time persona and be all bubbly and enthusiastic and joking and stuff. But as I got more acquainted with the people who were there and talked to them more, I guess I got pretty comfortable without actually realizing it, and slowly but surely my mask began to fade away because I ended up defaulting to my factory settings of the quiet kid in the corner of the class who doesn't.
Yeah, that's gonna happen when you put on a mask, right? Because what is a mask? A mask is an object that is designed to hide something, right? And when you try to hide something, it's actually gonna make it more obvious that you're hiding it, right? Like, imagine you're like, imagine your mom says, can I look through your phone, right? Or she just asks, can I see your phone real quick? If there's two people, right, son A and son B, and son A is like, oh, sure. Mom's gonna think, there's nothing really on it. He doesn't care. But if you're like, no, you can't be on my phone, mom's gonna think you got some weird stuff on your phone, right? Maybe you're talking to a girl, maybe you're whacking off on some shit. But she's gonna be more suspicious. It's the same thing with this. When you put on a mask to try to talk to people, it can come off as fake and inauthentic because you're doing something, you're acting in a way that's not natural to you. It's not you in general. You're putting on a mask to try to make friends. However, the more friendly and the more acquainted you become with someone, your true colors are gonna show. Your true values and personalities and ideals are gonna they're gonna crack through the mask, right? So if you try to hide yourself under a persona, it's just not gonna work. Which is why I believe in changing yourself for the better, right? I don't believe in you switching heel and trying to be something you're not. I believe in you naturally finding who you are as a person, right? I believe in you meditating, journaling, asking yourself important questions like, what do I value? In 5 years, what do I want to be known for? What type of man or woman do I want to become? I believe in you asking yourself questions like that and then figuring out what you truly want to do with your life. Because I feel like a lot of the reasons why people want to be this and nonchalant, they want to hate on other people, is because they don't know who they truly are, right? They don't know what their true values are, and they're confused, right? When you're confused, you latch on to anything or whatever because you're just trying to find something to stick to, right? Because you're just lost in a sea of, ideas, thoughts, and actions. So when you see a path that lights up, you're like, let me go down that one real quick, which is why a lot of people go down the wrong path. They choose the wrong partners. They have failed relationships and other issues because they don't know who they truly are, and yet they make so many important decisions without even asking themselves these questions, which is how you end up maybe in a job that you hate, hanging out with people that are no good for you. You have a girl that you don't like, but you're in this situation. That's how you end up in situations like that when you don't truly know who you are and what you value, right? Which is why I definitely believe in self-improvement, self-discovery, and Kaizen. If you know what Kaizen is, it's the idea, right? It's from Japan, of the continual idea of self-improvement, continually getting better, because there's never going to be a point in your life to where it's gonna end, right? You gotta keep improving, keep getting better, because right now I am way better today than I was like 90 days ago. I can say that now. I'm working harder. I'm more focused on my YouTube channels. I'm doing better in school. I'm learning more. I'm finding out what I value and things of that nature. Like, I'm getting better, but I know that in the next 90 days I'm gonna get better, bro. In 90 days, we're going to be, the start of January, which is crazy. 2026 is basically around the corner. But I'm going to still keep on improving and getting better, right? But, yeah, in total, the reason you don't want to be nonchalant or at least try to fake it is because when you put on a mask, people are going to realize whether it was sooner or later that you're faking. And people don't like faking because, you're chasing attention. You're desperate for attention. And chasing and desperation, it disattracts in that regard, right? It shows that you lack internal respect for yourself. You lack internal, you just lack internal attributes and respect for yourself. So now you're trying to seek that validation from other people. People can sense that and they don't like that. So yeah, that's basically why I did. Don't try to fake something or pretend to be something you're not. But yeah, man, that's it. To be real with you, it's not that I didn't enjoy this video. It's just that I've essentially said all I needed to say. I've already, you know what I'm saying, said what I believe. But yeah, man, shout out Kesaja. I think that it's Kesaja. I think it's Kesaja. But with that being said, shout out her for this video. But with that being said, it's your boy Jay. Stay healthy, stay wealthy, and stay blessed. And I'm out.